What's going on, y'all, and welcome on in. Hopefully you enjoyed that little montage. Big shout out to Merlin, who is an insane legend player. I don't know how he pulled that one off, but it was a very good day of Jacko testing. And sorry, boys, there is no Bruiser Jacko being tested, but as you saw, ML Flan was included. Pirate Flan was in the showcase because I wanted to try a more aggressive, more cleave style that would definitely benefit both Jacko and Flan. We might test Bruiser Jacko in the future, and I think she'll have more potential than Flan because of the chains of Chiron, which, by the way, if you're wondering why my Watcher Shuri in that intro had the chains, guys, it was honestly just a mistake. It should have been on Pirate Flan or at least Para to get that initial stun chance, because those can definitely cheese out some wins. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about Jacko and if she's worth your hard-earned bookmarks. Alrighty, boys, let's go ahead and look at the Jacko I was running today. If anyone, by the way, is watching and has tried out a Bruiser Jacko, please let me know how it worked out for you. That's going to be my next goal, but I am kind of having fun playing a more aggro, faster playstyle. It's definitely interesting being able to go first and actually, you know, be the one to take the initiative. All right, so let's show the build. Speaking of, you know, taking initiative, we went for a more offensive build. This is, guys, by the way, without any imprints or anything like that, and the Molas are not full. I'll talk about skill enhancements here in a little bit, as well as artifact selection. But this is the build we opted for. It's mainly just prioritizing damage, and I do think pen set is very important. Now, the speed range and balancing the attack and attack and crit damage, for example, is going to... It's going to vary depending on what kind of comp exactly you're running and how much damage you want to be putting out. I do think, boys, while you're building your Jacko for the first time, err on the side of having more damage and less speed, because getting that initial kill with Jacko is very, very important to continue the momentum, right? You want to lead the skill 3 into a hopefully guaranteed kill. You're not always going to get a kill depending if your opponent is playing tankier. Depending if they have mitigation, but if you can land a kill, a lot of times that is such a big lead for you, because you're going to be able to lead in that skill 1, get a stealth off, and potentially lead into more damage with her follow-up dust attack. So really landing that kill, especially if you saw hitting, you know, 2-tapping Arby's and stuff, which should be easy for most of y'all. Just make sure you go for more damage, and that's why I think pen set is the best. However, it is not required at all. And if crit set is way better than, let's say you guys are running some kind of scuffed pen set, your pen set is not that great, definitely go for crit set and just go for overall damage, because she still has she has some built-in defense pen, but definitely I think pen set would be the best overall. Try to shoot for anywhere, guys, from 37 to 4200 attack while balancing good crit damage and crit chance. Make sure crit chance is as high as possible. She's definitely a single target nuker, so missing those crits is very, very, very bad. And like I mentioned on the speed, boys, it's going to be dependent on if you're running any imprints. Kind of just tune it for yourself. See how often she's getting lapped or not. Depending, like if you saw in my intro, I had Flan to kind of push her up before the Coerc, because the Coerc was probably sitting around 250 to 250 speed-ish. So it depends if you have pushes or not, right? In that scenario, Coerc would have went first, and it could have been really bad for us. But overall, I think having a 230 to 240-ish speed is usually where I see most people, and that'll leave you room to have a lot of damage. If you try to go too much faster than that, I worry about having a lack of damage and not landing those skill 3 forever Elysian driver kills that lead straight into, of course, the Throw Servant, which can then lead into our dust attack, which is right here. The activates the dust attack when the target has a debuff. So overall, she's an insanely fun unit, very flashy. This is the build I ended up going for. So if you want to play, if you guys think you can play a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive, definitely try this one out. I'll be testing a Bruiser build this week, but these are the stats that I really enjoy. Okay, let's quickly talk about skill enhancements. We definitely wanted skill 3 because that's going to give us the extra turn if we land the kill. So remember what I said about damage, guys. You definitely want to make sure your Jacko is damage oriented. So maxing out the skill 3 is very, very important. She's honestly a plus 15 unit being a damage dealer, guys. That should be no surprise. However, we were having some success, you know, skimping on some Molas here and there, because this is a new style for me. It's not my permanent playstyle. I just wanted to do it for fun. And honestly, having, you know, experiencing other types of playstyles and widening your roster is always a good idea if possible, but not everyone has a lot of Mola Gora. So it depends on if she's worth it to you, and if you do think she fits your playstyle, you know, that aggro, very, very high intensity playstyle, then I would highly recommend giving her plus 15, because if you don't land the kill here, extra damage here and effect chance for the stun, very, very important. And then the skill 2, this is probably the least important, because the chains of Chiron are always in effect, and the combat readiness doesn't always happen. It only happens if they're stunned, so it depends how many stunners you're bringing, because this is not super reliable. The chains of Chiron, guys, at 25%, think of it like this. It's a very nice effect that can definitely just steal matches out of nowhere that you don't deserve to win. However, if you rely on it, I promise you will be let down. I know it seems like you guys always get stunned from dizzies, from abyssal crowns, but when it's on your side and you really need it, do not overestimate the game's opportunity to screw you over with RNG. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're relying on Chains of Chiron to stun, it's your win condition, you'll be let down. Think of it as an extra bonus that could potentially just take away a snowball, a win for you, but don't count on it. So that's why I think the S2 Mola for the combat readiness push when a after an ally attacks on the target is stunned, this combat readiness is not as important. If you can, plus 15 it, because every hit bit helps, especially when you're playing that cleave high aggro style. You want as much CR as possible, but this is what we opted for. I wouldn't try to go too much less than this, guys. Definitely get the damage on the skill 1. Try to max out the skill 3 if this is the most mandatory thing, and you can probably leave out all of the skill 2 until you get more Mola Gora. For artifacts, we're moving quickly, boys. We got the Symbol of Unity. The reason I'm using this, there's an artifact that I think is better for aggro players, and that is, I mentioned it in our review video, I think overall this artifact is better. Not necessarily better than Symbol, because Symbol is insane. We were hitting ice units like Rem, which was very, very important. So Symbol is definitely great. But the reason I like Merciless Glutton is because it opens up Symbol to be used on another character. If Jacko is going to be what you're using primarily as like a very, very hard carry DPS, and you're using her in almost all your matches, you're forcing her like I did for the testing today, then of course run Symbol. It's going to let her hit those ice units, some of those evasion units. It's very, very strong because it gives damage plus, right, hit chance. However, I think if you have a Merciless Glutton available, this also is so good. It just straight up gives single target increased damage, which is all she does. And on top of that, you get some CR push for all allies, which is really what her job is in some matches, depending on how you want to use her, a setup for the rest of your squad, okay? So Merciless Glutton, I think, is a very, very strong artifact. If you don't have that, run your symbols. Everybody should have access to Symbol. And if you don't want to run Symbol, you could probably just end up running Draco Plate, Portrait. There's probably a few others. Her own artifact is actually decent. Let's go take a quick look at it real fast. And I'll mention, we'll just talk about it real fast in terms of pull priority. But this Jacko Symbol, it's fine. It's pretty good. But there are better artifacts like Symbol, like Merciless Glutton, that kind of do more overall to her kit. Because I think having a little bit of effectiveness here is nice, right? So you can land those stuns. But it's definitely not a main part of her kit, and I think some of that effectiveness is just wasted, whereas instead you'd want the hit chance from the Symbol, the CR push from the Glutton, etc. But this is definitely not a bad artifact at all. It always gives the damage. You can only just you can use it at one copy, unlike some other the whale artifacts where you need max limit breaks for it to have effect. So if this is all you have, guys, and you want to run a Symbol on somebody else, it's just fine. Use it and it'll work pretty good. But definitely not a must-have. And I guess let's talk about Jacko. Is Jacko a must-have summon for you or not? Okay, guys, long story short, Jacko is not a must-have summon. However, I think she is very good. I think she looks amazing, and she's one of the flashiest, most fun units. So what did I say throughout this entire video? I haven't tested a bruiser build yet. You'll have to check out other content creators or yourselves. Check out the comments. I asked if y'all are building bruisers, so we don't know how good she is there. I imagine since she doesn't have too much defensive capabilities, she is a little bit tankier than expected because she's a warrior, but I don't expect bruiser to be super amazing. However, there is one thing I think that Jacko separates, and the reason that she is much better than other units in this category. So other units that could fulfill her role, guys, think of any other fast kind of damage dealer that sort of sets up other units like Green Sid, for example, single target damage dealers that kind of just can nuke something really hard and finish units and follow up, etc. But I think what, Remnant Violet as well, there's so many units like this that could fulfill her role. That's why she's not really a must-have unit. You could probably put the same gear on another style of unit that is single target, has some inherent defense pen or whatever, and they'll fulfill a similar job. But the reason I think Jacko, besides her looks, which is, boys, I kind of am, you saw me pull ML Flan last week and she didn't do too well for me. This week was much better, but I am trying to use units more for their looks because I think that does bring enjoyment back, and our focus has been so hard on balance and metagaming. Sometimes it's nice to just pull units you like and have fun with them. But the reason I think that separates Jacko and why I think she's more than just, an okay unit if you want her, is the Chains of Chiron. So I said earlier that you don't want to rely on it, but I think this skill is very powerful, guys, and the fact that it always is at the start of the battle, even if Jacko gets outsped and dies, she'll be providing value somewhat. And if you capitalize on the skill on good units, remember, boys, we were theory crafting this in the preview. You can run this on Seaside Bologna. We used it on Ida. Even on Watcher Shuri. That wasn't the only time I messed up against Merlin. I also used it in another match, and he actually got a stun off. So just having that effect on your back row unit, put it on Para. A lot of times, it can make or break a match. Now, depending on what happens with your opponents, if Jacko becomes too annoying, maybe people bring more immunity, maybe they'll build more resist, and it'll be less impactful. But for right now, with Rimu being a threat and a lot of people dropping immunity, a lot of people not building too much ER for now. I think that is the trend to build more effect resist soon. Get ready for the one of the Legend Player reviews I'm about to show y'all. Your mind will be blown. I do think right now this is very, very nice, and it's just extremely fun. And I don't think Jacko is just a for fun, good-looking unit. If you want to use her, she'll be okay. I think she's actually very solid for aggro/cleave players. If you don't already have a unit that can single target defense pen, then definitely must have puller. If you have other units that kind of fulfill that role of heavy nuke with inherent like defense pen or second turn kills, or sorry, 2-turn kills, like her 2-turn effect to destroy Arby's and things like that, then you may not end up needing her. But the fact that she's limited, the fact that her artifact is actually okay to pick up as well, I think a lot of y'all should try to pull for her. I do think overall she's better than Elfelt. They kind of have a different role, even though they like to be in aggressive matches. Elfelt's more of the opener, Jacko's more of the mid DPS, or as some of the cleavers term it, the bridge, which leads into other damage dealers after the opener. Sorry, a lot of cleaver lingo. I do think Jacko overall is better than Elfelt, for example, just to kind of gauge the tiers. But if you are hard stuck on bookmarks, guys, if you're a tanky player, I don't think you really need her. But one bonus point, guys, for you control players out there, I think Jacko kind of works very nice in a control setup too. Not just full-on damage, the Chains of Chiron plus your skill 1 stun, especially when you soul burn it, boys. If you bring things like Taga Hells, I was bringing a lot of books, for example, with Ida, with Politis. Politis, another one, boys. We all knew this. Politis with the Chains of Chiron, absolutely busted. Very, very fun. And you can kind of use her in a control. We were trying for damage, but when my opponent banned out too much damage, like the Ida, what ended up happening was it was just a bomb show, stuns, Politis, Chains of Chiron, Abyssal, or not Abyssal Crown, but her S1s. It was just a lot of stuns, including the flan effects. It was a lot of fun overall. So depending on what you want to build, guys, it can transfer from cleave over to control. Kind of just a bonus tidbit. By the way, here's the new flan, guys. We dropped the bruiser build, and of course, as we all expected, I told y'all this is the best damage artifact for cleave. It works really nice in that kind of setup, so she ended up being much, much better. I still don't think she's an amazing unit by any means, so don't feel bad if you can't summon her. Definitely just get Coaxial instead, but if you want to run her in a more aggressive lineup, flan definitely shines there. Alrighty, guys, well, I think that wraps it up. Hopefully I included some good footage to show how flashy, how fun Jacko was in our day of testing. Definitely, we tested her as an aggro player, aggressive player, and it was very, very good. So consider picking her up, boys. She is limited. We don't know if Guilty Gear will come back. But if you really had to save, she is not must-have. She's not really top tier, just very, very solid, very fun for those types of players. And she's waifu as heck. So go ahead, guys. Good luck on your summons. If you do decide to pull forward, hopefully this helps some of y'all out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.